Hello and welcome to the Mystic Order of the Sacred Circle. And remember, you are not a person who is experiencing awareness. You are awareness experiencing a person. So we are going to dive right into this. And for my very first video, I have a bunch of notes. I am going to talk about definitions of particular words. So we are going to run through these real quick because I just want to make sure that I clarify things that will be said later in this on this channel and kind of express the way I feel and believe about things. First of all, before I even go through this, I have a tendency. I do not like using the word fact, not because of its true meaning, but because of its interpretational meaning, the belief that people have about fact, not the word itself. So many years ago, I was writing a book on martial arts, and I ran into a little bit of an issue about some of these words, and I started doing some research on them. And as a matter of fact, it actually became an entire chapter of the book, which kind of deviated slightly from its actual intended content, but I have used this sort of thing in many aspects of my life. So, and I do have a tendency to ramble. So if you continue to watch my channel, you will realize that. All right, so let's begin. We will jump past that real quick. All right, so originally I started doing this research in 1990. I did use a Merriam-Webster dictionary, like the actual book, but I do not recall, I did not write down which one I used. I don't know what edition it was, but I have noticed throughout time the accepted definition of a lot of these words do get changed. So now I will read the book definition of them. Sometimes, on occasion, I do disagree slightly with that interpretation, but so we have a couple handfuls of words here, and what I found was when I started to define, I start with belief, and when I started to define that, it gave me other words that needed to be defined, and then those words gave me other words, and it kind of, I jumped down a rabbit hole a little bit. So here we go. Belief: to have firm conviction about something, to hold as an opinion and accept as truth. All right, so pretty simple. To have a firm conviction about something. All right, you believe it. To hold as an opinion and to accept as truth. Okay, so we have opinion and truth now that we are going to jump to. But let's, just to keep myself straight, let's just go down the road the way I have these. So, fact. This is where people tend to mix up words and meanings. Most people believe that a fact is just their opinion or their belief. So, or I should say they use it that way. A fact: quality of being actual, something that exists or occurs. Again, honestly, somebody's perception, which I do believe is in here too, somebody's perception alters all of these words. Perception is the crux and the key of everything. Somebody's particular perception over something. So anyway, a belief is something you have a firm conviction in. Okay, you can believe anything you want. You can believe the world is flat if you want. If you have a firm conviction that the earth is flat, then that's your belief. Now, the problem gets into when people take their beliefs and their opinions and believe that they have factual information. That's when it gets really murky and other things. All right, so a fact is a quality of being actual, something that exists or occurs. Now, you can believe anything exists or occurs, and if you believe it does, so therefore you say, okay, it does exist, and that becomes a fact. So facts don't have to be real either in a certain context of it. Knowledge. Knowledge is an understanding gained by actual experience, something learned and kept in the mind. So knowledge is just something that has occurred to you through your actions. You have learned that this is the reaction, action, reaction. All right. So again, knowledge doesn't actually have to be real and actual. It just has to be something that has occurred to you or occurred because of something you did, and you see a reaction to it. If a tornado's going by and it went through a farm and picked up a bunch of pigs, and pigs are flying around in the air in the tornado, and one of them gets shot out across the field, and you happen to see that pig fly out across the field, and you see that, you can say, oh, pigs do fly. I saw that. I saw a pig fly. So, and then that becomes, oh, well, that's not a belief. I actually saw that. That's actual and real, so there's a fact. So now, for you, pigs fly. It's a fact. Opinion, a belief, stronger than impression and less than positive knowledge. So, truly an opinion and a belief are really the same thing. Honestly, all of these are really the same thing. To a degree, they're all the same thing. So, an opinion is just something you believe, but you haven't quite experienced something that would prove it to you. Truth. Truth is just an accepted statement. That's all it is, just an accepted statement. If you accept it as being actual, then it's the truth, plain and simple. So if you, and I use the flat earth thing because I think it's extremely ridiculous that people actually believe that's real. So it kind of accentuates my point that I'm trying to make. So if you accept that the earth is flat, then that is truth. A belief is by definition truth. However, truth is not always correct. So there we go. Now here's the one term that I'm going to talk about that is slightly different than all of the others. So here we go. Faith. Now, in one respect, faith is exactly like all these others. It's just a point of view. That's all it is. But there's one small little detail about it that alters everything about it, in my point of view, from my perspective, my belief, my truth, my opinion, my knowledge. It's a fact. Faith is a belief without the need of proof. That's it. And as a matter of fact, faith actually requires that you not question it. Faith is nothing more than a belief that you are supposed to not question. Plain and simple. You're not allowed to question it. It's just how it is. That's faith. I don't like that word because I question everything. So, fact and faith are two things I don't like to use. All right, let's continue on. Impression. Somebody's impression. An idea, feeling, or opinion about something or someone, especially one without conscious thought or the basis of little evidence. So that's your impression. It's just something you believe. That's all it is. An impression is just something you believe. An idea, feeling, or opinion about something or someone, especially one formed without conscious thought or on the basis of little evidence. That's a belief. Faith, a firm belief in something in which there is no proof. It's just complete trust. Trust. Trust is assured reliance on character, ability, strength, or truth, or someone or something, to hope or expect, to place confidence in, or to rely on the truthfulness or accuracy of. So trust is just believing somebody else. Plain and simple. Hope. To want something to happen or to be true. So if you just want something to happen or to be, if you want it to be real, that's hope. To desire, to expect, or to want, that's hope. That's just a desire to have belief in. Want. To be needy or to desire. Actual. Actual was mentioned in fact. So actual. Existing in fact or reality, not false. Existing or occurring at the time. So if something is actual, definition of let's jump. Let me make sure I get this correct. I don't want to. There it is. The definition of a fact is something that is real and actual. Well, actual only means something that existing or occurring at the time, and is not false, existing in fact or reality. Well, again, depending on your personal point of view, what's actual and what isn't actual is really just your belief. Existing. So we're talking about something that actually exists. To have real being, whether material or spiritual. To continue to be, to have life or the functions of vitality. So if it exists and it's actual, so if it is real, if it's a real being, whether material or spiritual, whether it continues to be, or whether it has life, function, or vitality, means it exists. And if it's actual, it existing in fact or reality, it is not false, and it existing or occurring at the time. That's a fact. That's what a fact is. If it falls in actual and existing, then it's a fact. Vitality, because it says to have life or the function of vitality. So vitality is living and animated, powered to endure, capable to live and develop. So there you go. All right, let's see. Do I have anything else? Yes, I do. All right, so let's look back here. Looks like we got a handful more, and then we'll be done with that. Gnosis. It's a esoteric knowledge of spiritual truth. Okay, that's different than knowledge. Knowledge, in my view, knowledge is material, and gnosis is spiritual. Same thing, just one's material realm, one's spiritual realm. Perspective, a mental view, the capacity to view things in their true relation or relative importance. That's what a perspective is. And again, everybody's perspective is a point that skews everything else. It really does. A lie. This one's interesting. The definition of a lie and my interpretation of a lie are slightly different. I am a person who prides themselves on making every attempt possible to not lie. I just prefer not to do that. Just for my own personal well-being, I do not desire to speak falsehoods. I don't want to lie from my perspective. Now, the definition here, the second part of this definition would make it possible that I do lie intentionally on this second portion of the definition. I'm a little questioning about that interpretation of it, but let's just get to it real quick. And a lie is making an untrue statement with intent to deceive. Okay? I attempt to not do that. I truly desire to not make untrue statements. Okay? I just don't. Now, the second part of this is a little, if the second part of it is an accurate and true statement, then I possibly do attempt to lie on occasion. So the second part of this says to create a false or misleading impression. Now, I do that on purpose a lot. I tend to create misleading impressions about myself personally to other people in situations of self-defense. All right, so what I'm saying, I tell everybody that I am an old, fat, lazy, bald guy. Old, fat, lazy, bald guy. I am, I guess, by modern standards, fat. I am bald. I am old, 58. Lazy. That's interpretational. I really don't see myself as a lazy person when it comes to actions and things to that nature. But the first thing I do when I get into a conflict, now I don't fight in the streets anymore. I just haven't had not recently. Very, very rarely have I fought in the streets recently. But back 20 years ago or so, and before, I had a job that not only afforded me the ability to street fight, but it encouraged it. So I used to fight a lot in the street. And I enjoyed every moment of it. I'm not going to lie. I enjoyed it. I looked forward to it. But nowadays, since I'm not doing that job anymore. I'm not really in the position to be doing that, and two, I don't have the legal shield that was protecting me when I was doing it before. So now there's consequences that I don't particularly care for if I were to get into a fight. But when in conflict with another person, I tend to overstate that I'm an old, fat, lazy, bald guy. I want there to be a perception that I am a weak, unimportant, unskilled nobody who couldn't fight and couldn't beat themselves out of a wet paper bag. I want that perception. So I create that misleading interpretation of it by my actions and my verbal statements that create the illusion that I'm of no consequence when it comes to combat. It's part of my strategy. Now, according to this definition, that's a lie. I don't see that as a lie because I am an old, fat, bald guy who could be perceived as lazy in certain perspective. In a certain perspective, I would be lazy. So what I'm saying is kind of true. I don't believe that it's true, but I make the perception of it as being true. And by definition that I just read, that's a lie. So, do I alter my perceptions of the terminology to fit my actions, or do I alter my actions to fit the perception of the definition? I'm not going to change the way I am, so I'm just going to alter my belief about the terminology of the word. I'm still not incorrect. I'm just altering my perception of it. So now, if I alter my perception of the belief, then I change it, and now I'm still not lying because that's my perception, and there we go. So that's how you can manipulate any of these words. That's how politicians do it. Which absolutely probably doesn't make it a very good thing if a politician does it. Anyway, so those are a few words that very, very important and needs to be, I think, needs to be comprehended. Here's another thing, comprehension and understanding. If you comprehend, let me see here real quick. I think I may have written those down, but there we go, yes. All right, comprehension and understanding. Let's talk about that real quick. So, to understand is to accept as fact or truth or regard as plausible without utter certainty. All right, so it's just an accepted as fact, which means you accept it as a belief, and it becomes real, and it is, right? To accept as a fact or truth or regard as plausible without utter certainty. So that's to understand. I have a slightly different interpretation of that, but let's read comprehend. To grasp mentally, to grasp the nature, significance, or meaning of. All right? Now, they both really mean the same thing. In my viewpoint, although it is not defined directly, my personal viewpoint, to understand means to stand under. The difference between understanding and comprehending. So comprehending is something that you grasp mentally or you accept as fact or truth. Okay, it's something that you accept as being actual. The only difference is when you understand it, not only do you accept it as being true, but you agree to abide by that. Comprehension does not necessarily mean you agree to abide by it. All right? Which is why when the police read you your Miranda rights, they ask you if you understand your rights. Now, the reason they don't say, do you comprehend your rights, is because you can comprehend what you're being told. That doesn't mean that you agree to abide by it. If you say you understand it, then not only are you saying you comprehend it, but you agree to abide by it. All right? So I shouldn't say that because absolutes are horrible. I attempt to always not use the word understand, but comprehend instead. Sometimes it slips out, the word understand slips out, but what I really mean is comprehend, because I am of the personality that does not like so-called authority figures, and you are not my boss, and you don't get to tell me what to do. And that goes for everybody. You are not my boss, and you do not get to tell me what to do. Now, for me, that's real and actual. That's a fact. Now, it doesn't work that way in real life, but that's regardless of that. I have only given one person the true authority to be my boss, and that's my wife. Everybody else just takes it. But I do not understand, but I do have the ability to comprehend. So anyway, and that's where another position that I disagree with the actual definition, because understand does not specifically state that it's not only to accept as fact or truth, but there's nothing in there about it agreeing and complying to it, right? You agree to abide by the circumstances that you say you understand. But truly, that's what it is. You stand under the authority of that. So you can comprehend something, but that doesn't mean you understand it. And that's important. At least to me it is. All right. So there are all of those definitions, and truly, in truth and in fact, in opinion and belief, in perspective and all that, all means the same thing. It's the only true difference is the amount of people that accept it. If you say something and you're the only one that accepts that as being actual and real, then that's just your belief or your opinion. Now, if you say the exact same thing and many people believe you and accept it as well, then it stops being just your opinion and it becomes like a truth or a fact, or facts are nothing more than an accepted, a larger amount of people accepting the same statement as being actual and real. So my wife is trying to distract me.
Did it work?
Yes.
What were you saying?
Yeah, something about words. I had words. So they all truly, they all mean the same thing. The only slight difference between all of these words is the faith, the word faith. And it truly means the same thing as all the other words, except faith not only allows, but in truth demands the lack of proof. That's really the only variation between all of these words. They all really mean the same thing, except for faith accepts that there is no proof, but truly demands that you not question. If you have faith, you're not allowed to question that. That's what makes faith faith instead of truth or belief or opinion or any of those other words. That's the alteration that creates the faith. The lack, not only the lack of proof, but the inability to look for it, the lack of desire to even look for truth. You just are unable to question it, because if you question it, then it ceases to be faith. So, and I don't like the word faith because I question everything. That's just the truth of it. That's a fact. I try to question everything. So anyway, as I said before, you are not a person experiencing awareness. You are awareness experiencing a person. Remember that. That's very, very important. So I'd like to thank you guys. Blessings to everybody who has endured and actually watched this entire video. And I want to leave you with one more little statement. And I want to let you know that you are not the wave. You are the ocean itself.